Yo, 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 what's going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and today we have some breaking news and probably a hottish take for you all that are either in or will be observing SS1-2. So in this new season, we got a bombshell piece of information that has been vetted, I should say, by a direct source for its authenticity, along with a few others who mentioned this afterwards, is that we now know that in Season 2, for all the alliances that are going to be involved in what could be a really big, yet again, and hopefully fun war, we have now heard officially that the alliances from Kingdoms 5 and 6 that specifically are in the Zoland and Burning Land regions that we discussed and spoke about earlier are now actually going to be teaming up with the other alliances from the Forgotten Lands region and Navola, in short, to then go up against TA and GRZ, and possibly UEH and the others. Now, this to me is extremely big, right? Now, let me show you what I'm talking about to give you a little bit of a glimpse on the implications here. So, you have, as we talked about in the starting location introductory video, we covered 4 where alliances ended up placing themselves for the start of the new season. Now, you can see here on the map, TA, their alliances, excuse me, and then you have SRZ, GRZ, UEH in Kaltia, TA in Sophrostia. We have Kingdom 6, that's in Burning Lands with the God Alliances. BDL's alliances and others from Kingdom 5 are in Zoland. You got the NT alliances with 45 and 17. I'm sure some others in Forgotten Lands. Then you have the other, I guess, Kingdom 4 alliances, which is kind of a culmination between POS, OFOX, Forbidden, etc., that are here in Navola. So, based on this, it is now, for what we understand, Navola, Forgotten Lands, Zoland, and Burning Lands alliances, at least we can argue the core alliances there that we know of currently, are going to be going up against TA, GRZ, UEH, essentially the alliances in Sophrostia, Kaltia. This is pretty huge when you think about it, because this is, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is one of the scenarios that you may, if you've been watching the content for a little while, you may have already heard me talk about how this is one of those scenarios that could have played out, that we touched on based on the Mega Alliance approach that TA has been taking. You have to be very delicate, right? And I talk about this often. You have to be very delicate when you are planning or deciding to approach the game in a, well, we just kind of want to be the number one strongest alliance approach, because, and this isn't to say that, like, you know, just because of them doing that, this has caused this, but typically it's usually because of the actions and the decisions and the way you present yourself to other alliances when you're doing that. Right, there's obviously history on both sides, especially when we just talk about the S2 alliances and then what happened in Season 1. Right, TA's kind of always, you know, for all intents and purposes, been at the forefront of quite a few conversations that we've had. With that in mind, now, if we talk about what that's actually going to look like in-game, well, remember, we don't really have an idea yet on what the alliance powers are. Probably the best indicator that we can really get out, right, is probably going to be the alliance towers. But let's just start with power first. So, right, you got God, who can most likely keep up with, I would argue, Junie and Ghost. I think Duz is there as well. There's a good chance he might start powering up. in addition, right? So you got two guys in the top 6, one in the top 3. Then, you got Asura, that's 3 in the top 8 for them. Boogie, that's 4 in the top 10, 5 in the top 11. Then you got BDL, right? So you technically, if you're looking at this objectively, you have 6 players in the top 12, right? That's a nice 50-50 split. You keep going down, GRZ, TD, right? Okay, now you have 7 in the top 17, 8 in the top 18, 9 in the top 20. Here we go. 10 in the top 24, 11, 26, 12, 27, 13, 29, 14, 30, right? So you're 14 to 16, right? When you're just kind of looking at it, it actually doesn't seem that bad. When you're considering, actually the numbers are actually pretty close. And that to me, right, and we can keep going farther down, but just when you're getting a quick glance at the top 30, right, you got 14 top of the top 30 players on one side, 16 of them kind of on the TA GRZ side. That is still pretty close. And I'm a big fan, as you know, I talk about this often. I love the even Steven type mindset when you are looking to fight big wars. I think that you'll have better, longer sustainable fights when it's not an overwhelming side versus another. Unfortunately, I think, for when you look at how, with the exception of what happened early to middle of the season in Server 2, with TA kind of being the underdogs and kind of fighting the uphill battle and then, so to speak, overcoming just based on the power differential that they had early on. And then you look at kind of how they finished in season Server 2 for that season, and then coming into Season 1 for SS1-1, the first Merge Kingdom, they kind of were the overwhelming favorites because they were just the strongest alliance at the time. I believe outside of King, who was kind of up there as well. But then now you look at how they're ending this season, how they ended Season 1 for the first Merge Kingdom, and again, they were just, a cut above, obviously. And then you looked at, what they were almost twice the power of the number 2 alliance, and, clearly having an opportunity to do that again, right, depending on how the power and everything plays out, how quickly they can grow the main to then fill that with the players that are spread out and, probably, I'm sure, some of the other temp shell alliances. Now let's look at, if we can, the alliance towers, right? And this to me is a little bit more of an indicator. Just because, one, we can't necessarily look at power, at least in the traditional sense. We can actually click on these alliances and see where people are at. Like, you can see, dude, like BDL, right? They're already at 1 billion power. TA, they're at 1.6 billion. I mean, right, and you can kind of see some of the numbers here as well. NT45, 1.15 billion. God, 862 million. GRZ is already at 1 billion too as well. SL 526, SS18, they're almost at 1 billion there from Asura. Let's look at TK, they're at 1.1 billion. SRZ 586, almost 1.1 billion there for OFOX. Bogey's Line's almost 1 billion power. I mean, again, you got a bunch of billion powers here that are coming up. Let's see what else we have. 586. I mean, again, some of them are here 1.3, 1.4 billion almost there. God, that doesn't look like they're doing anything. Mercenaries, 1 bill power. I mean, again, man, quite a few. And, I mean, even this, like almost 800K power. But point is, right, if you look at the number of alliances that have at least one flag up, right, you have 50 alliances that have at least a flag up. You have BDL leading that charge at 25, God at 23 with NT45, T and GRZ right on the heels there at 22, and then you got 21 and 20 for the flags. If we scroll down a little bit, let's just say you look at the number of alliances that have 10 flags or more, right? That's not bad. You got 32 alliances in the second season of SS1 Plus or S1 Plus for the SS1-1 now -2 Kingdom. There is good activity here, and that's great to see. So now it's going to be just a matter of how is it going to play out, right? I think for me, some of the questions that I want to pose are, again, just because I haven't heard anything, from the NT side, though it doesn't necessarily give me any kind of cause to pause. It's just, again, when you look at it, you have NT alliances here in Forgotten Lands. We know that the alliances in Nivola are going to fight assumption is that NT is still with Nivola, like we talked about in the previous video. The assumption is they'll fight. But the positioning is interesting because now it's a matter of how are they going to play this out, right? Are you going to have the Burning Lands alliances like union themselves one by one so they can just kind of work their players over? And is it going to be something where they will just start funneling themselves from Burning Lands to Zoland to Forgotten to Darlin to Nivola, and then same thing, like basically it's going to be like this, right? Everyone's just going to keep funneling to the choke point, because that's what you have to consider, is that Nivola, for all intents and purposes, right here. This is the primary choke point. Right, you got 2 flags, or sorry, I believe it's 3. Let's double check this. From there, so let's just scroll out real quick. And, oh dang, I can't see anything right now. But, yeah, I think it is 2 flags from Nivola. It's 3 going in from Darlin, so it is 2 from Nivola to Sophrostia. So, again, now you have to think about, okay, well, you're probably going to at least have 2 alliances, whether it's TA, TM, whoever it is, right? They'll be pushing those. You'll probably have to decide 2 alliances. Maybe the idea is they'll just flag this like crazy, right? Maybe they'll just like draw lines, so to speak, or like this with all the alliances to make it so that the push is going to take them a little bit longer, right? Is the idea where do they feel that they're going to be able to hold TA back? Are they going to be able to get support in time? Because once all the level 1 passes open, that's the important thing, is how. This is the thing. If you look at it from just the numbers game, right? Do we think that these players that are in Nivola for the SS family, are they going to be able to hold off TA? Will they be able to push them? First off, that is yet to be seen. What I think is more likely to happen is that they're either able to hold for a period of time, but if I'm just going off of what I think where the advantage lies, I do believe it lies a little bit more on the TA side right now. If it's just those alliances in SS, those couple alliances that are fighting against them, right, at least early on. So if that happens and it plays out the way I think it will, then it's a matter of, okay, well, how long can you delay them from pushing in order for you to get the reinforcements to hold them off here, right? Because then you also have to consider having maybe 1 or 2 alliances spread out through the area. So that way, in Nivola, so that way you can potentially counterplay or predict if they decide to throw a CF down anywhere in the region. Maybe TA and GRZ and those alliances will try and throw a fort down near the Nivola Darlin Pass. Well, you're going to need alliances that are around here that can navigate there quickly, so that way they can counter that. Maybe they'll be here. So again, that's some of the planning that they'll have to do before the level 1 passes. And I hope both sides are, because no matter what, I'm just hoping to see some amazing PvP. Right, that is my hope. And so how the SS alliances decide to set up Nivola is going to be very interesting to watch. And what is their plan? Will they care to delay? Are they just going to try and go in and push them into Sophrostia, and that's the way they're going to buy time? Are they going to have to set up kind of contingencies as backup plans in case they end up getting pushed? And then are they just going to go hard and fight to the death until they get reinforcements? Will they delay and wait to get reinforcements and then re-engage? Again, those questions to me are fascinating. And that's why I'm really curious on how this is going to play out. So again, I'm going to be here giving you guys as much of an insight into what's going to be happening, as much of the PvP that we're going to be having as well. I think we're going to have to wait until, let's see here, which one is it? Great Deeds. Oh no, that's Scouts. Oops, hang on, let's see here. Market of Seats. Yeah, so it is Market of Seats. So that's the 7th. So again, we're Crown of Justice. We got a day left until Crown of Justice, and then we got Indecision, Market of Seats. So you're probably looking at, what, a week and a half? I'd argue maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, just depending on I'd say a week and a half, give or take, until we end up getting to Market of Seat, and then you got the 12 hours until level 1 passes go. Still have to wait until we can kind of go beyond and start scouting. Yeah, so that should be this one. Once we get to End of Decision, I'll actually be able to start scouting all the level 1 areas, and we can kind of start seeing how things are building, give you a little bit more context. So we still have some time. right? I think, again, we got at least a week and a half until we're going to see any action. But I do truly believe once the action starts, we're going to be seeing action for a while. That's my hope. Now, I want to pass the question off to you before we close everything out. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think it's more likely that TA and GRZ and UEH will push in the SS alliances into Vola? Do you think that the SS alliances will be able to hold them off? Do you even think that they'll be able to counter push or push the TA, GRZ, UEH alliances into Sophrostia, and that will allow for them to just, again, bide their time and wait for the reinforcements to come? What do you think should happen? What do you think is a good strategy here for the Nivola alliances going up against the Sophrostia and Kalti alliances? Let me know in the comments down below. That's going to be it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.